In this video, we're going to go over how to improve hip strength and move with less pain. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Dr. Rowe coming to you from SpineCare in St. Joseph, Michigan. In this video, we're going to go over easy exercises that are going to help improve hip strength. That way we can make everyday activities like walking, going up and down stairs, getting out of a chair a lot easier and less painful. And we're going to do this by strengthening the muscles that are highly associated with hip pain. This would include the glutes, hip flexors, and hip rotators. A note about these exercises, each one works just a little bit differently. They're going to target different muscles. To get the best results, go through them all, use what works best for you. With that being said, let's get started. So here's a strengthening exercise that you can do standing. For this one, we just need a sturdy chair, preferably one without wheels and one that will support our body weight. I call this one the twisted hip clock because we're going to put our leg through different motions, kind of like hours of a clock, to find the one that is going to offer the best results. So to get into position, just stand pretty close to the chair. Doesn't matter which side is closest because we're going to do this on both. But just place all of your body weight onto the heel that is closest to the chair. It will offer just a little bit more support, and you're more than welcome to grab onto the chair for support if needed. If you want to make this one a little bit harder, try it without the support of the chair. But what we're going to do with this other leg is then straighten it right out in front of us, so it's kind of like at noon, and then point our toes downward towards the floor. The more that you point your toes down towards the floor, the more of a gentle stretch you should feel in the calf that works upward towards the thigh into the hip. Once you feel that, hold that position and then slowly raise your foot and leg upward towards the ceiling as much as you can. You're going to feel those muscles throughout the leg and the hip really start to activate, but really focus on trying to feel it around the hip. Once you do feel that, hold this comfortably for about 3 seconds and then relax. So again, just like a clock, on the next repetition, we're going to go over a little bit more towards 12:30. What you're going to notice is it hits the muscles just a little bit differently. I feel it a little bit more on the inner part of my thigh with this one and a lot more on the outside of my hip. So keep doing this over and over again, working towards 3 o'clock, working backward towards 6 o'clock, even 7 o'clock if you're able to. The goal is to find one position that is the most challenging. Maybe it feels like it's really weak, tight, or achy. At that point, treat it like your weak link. Stop over that spot and throw in about 5 to 10 repetitions. So if you feel like this one is a little bit too easy, this is how you can take it to the next level and add in a little bit of a twist. So as you do this, instead of keeping your foot straight, turn your foot inward like this, trying to move through the hip. So we're putting the hip into internal rotation and then lifting it up. It's pretty challenging, so build into this one slowly. So give that a try going inward, and you can also put the hip into external rotation by turning your foot outward as much as you can, and really focus on doing this over that weak link spot. But just remember, whatever you do on one side to do on the other to keep everything in balance. So let's move on to another really good standing exercise. So one of the absolute best ways to strengthen the hips is to do squatting type exercises. Here's a couple different options that you can use, with the first one being a little bit easier, and it's perfect to do right after that first exercise because it's pretty much the same position. So what I'm going to do is put one hip pretty close to the chair, doesn't matter which side, and we're just going to place all of our body weight onto that heel for stability. And you can grab onto the top of the chair for support. If you would like to not use the chair, it's going to definitely be a little bit harder. So what you're going to do from there is just bend this other leg like this and let it hover above the floor. Once we have all of our body weight onto the heel, then I'm going to brace my core muscles. It's kind of like when somebody pokes you in your stomach, how you tense up. Mimic that. It helps protect the back. And we're also going to squeeze our glutes, our buttocks, during this exercise to make sure that we're really getting those to fire. So once we're in that position, we're now going to keep our back as straight as possible. We're going to bend this knee right here and then just slowly squat our bottom down and away as much as we can. So just lower your butt towards the floor. The more that you go down, the more that you're going to feel a ton of muscles throughout the legs start to fire, but really focus on feeling it around the glutes, the buttocks, because those are one of the biggest, if not biggest, stabilizer of the hips. So once you feel a really good activation of those muscles, try to hold this one for about 3 to 5 seconds and then come back up. take a breather. From there, try to build into this over and over again for about 5 to 10 repetitions. And with each repetition, challenge yourself to go down just a little bit more. Another note with this exercise, look down when you do it too and make sure that your knee is in line with your toes, so it's not tracking out like this, or I should say in like this or out like this. We want the knee nice and stable and straight in line with our toes. So afterwards, if it feels like you have a little bit more energy, try to throw in another set or two. Just remember, whatever you do on one side, always do on the other to keep everything in balance. So to take this one to the next level, you can do what is called a goblet squat, which is again a little bit more challenging. For this one, we're going to take a big wide stance. We don't need the chair for this. You want your feet a little bit more than hip width apart and slightly point your toes out, roughly about 10 degrees. It will help take tension off the knees. From there, to help keep our back straight while we do this, we're going to take our hands, put them in a prayer position, and then press them right into our chest, just like gently press in there. And then from there, you're going to put all of your body weight onto your heels. Let's brace the core muscles, squeeze the glutes, and then just squat downward like this towards the floor. Keep going down. Once you feel a really good activation and it's comfortable around the hips, you're then going to hold this for about 3 to 5 seconds. Come back up, and then just repeat this 5 to 10 times. Always challenge yourself to go a little bit lower. But give this one a try when you're ready and try to do about 5 to 10 repetitions for about 3 complete sets. So let's switch gears and now do some exercises that you can do right in bed or on a floor. When it comes to strengthening both the back and the hips, one of the best exercises that you can do is what is called the bridge. But I'm going to show you how to take the bridge to the next level. So to get into position, we're going to lie flat on our back with our legs roughly hip width apart, knees bent, feet flat. Take your hands, put them off to your side for support. The first one is called the marching bridge, and it's going to target the muscles right here on the top of your thigh called the hip flexors, which are really important for building hip stability. So let's start off by bracing our core muscles, very similar to what we did in that previous exercise. And then we're going to squeeze the glutes to make sure that we get those to fire. From there, we're just going to gently press our heels into the bed. The more that you press your heels down, the more that you should feel those glutes start to fire. So get a really good activation. From there, you're going to hold this position and then slowly raise your hips and pelvis upward towards the ceiling until your body is in a nice straight line from your knees to your hips to your shoulders. If you're unable to get in this position because of weakness or pain, like you can only go up a little bit, do the best you can. Hopefully over time you will gain strength and flexibility to get in this position. But in this position, you're going to feel a ton of muscles start to fire. The core, the lower back, but more importantly, the glutes. So once you feel it right here in the glutes, we're going to hold this position and now add in our march to target these hip flexors. So you're just going to take one knee and just try to bring it upward towards your chest. As you do this, you're going to feel those muscles right here start to fire. Hold this comfortably for a couple seconds, lower it down like this, and then repeat on the other side. You want to do this nice and slowly for about 5 to 10 repetitions on both sides. And then from there, you're just going to relax. On the next repetition, try to build into it just a little bit more. Challenge yourself to do about 3 complete sets. So next, we're going to take this one to the next level by doing what is called the clamshell bridge, which is going to help open up the hips a little bit more by putting them into external rotation. So let's take our feet, press them together gently, and then just take our knees and wing and press them downward towards the floor as much as we can until we feel a really good stretch form in the inner part of our thigh that works towards the groin into the hips. Once you feel it into the hips, you're going to hold this, brace the core muscles, squeeze the glutes, and then just lift your hips and pelvis upward towards the ceiling. You're going to feel the muscles get hit a lot differently with this one. I usually feel it a little bit more towards the inner part of my hips. Hold this one for about 3 to 5 seconds, relax. Repeat this 5 to 10 times. And with each repetition, really build into it a little bit more by bringing your knees closer towards the floor. But afterwards, if it feels like you have a little bit more energy, try to throw in another set or 2. But go through these movements. If you find that one is just helping you out a little bit more, at that point, throw more repetitions in. So here's another really good hip strengthening exercise that you can do in bed or on a floor, but this one's going to focus a little bit more on hip rotation. So if you have a lot of difficulty or pain turning your leg outward or inward, give this one a try. It's called the 3D dead bug. What we're going to do is lie flat on our back, have our legs roughly hip width apart, knees bent, feet flat. Take your hands, put them off to your side for support. Let's bend our knees roughly at 90 degrees, have the knees pointed up towards the ceiling. What you're going to do is take one leg, slowly straighten your knee, and then just lower your leg towards the bed or the floor, just to the point where it's slightly hovering above it. Don't let your leg or your foot touch. In this position, you're going to feel a ton of muscles start to fire. You should feel it in the core on the front, the lower back, but more importantly around the glutes in the hip. So you're going to hold this for about 3 to 5 seconds and then relax. And then just repeat it on the other side. I like to do this about 5 to 10 times to warm everything up before we take this to the next level. But this is how we're going to take it to the next level. What we're going to do this time around is lower our leg down into that original position, but let's take our foot, turn it inward as much as we can, focusing on moving through the hip. This will put the hip into internal rotation. You should feel the muscles right here on the outside of that hip start to fire. Once you feel that, you're going to hold this position and now sweep your leg inward as much as you can. Those muscles are really going to get activated at this point. Hold this comfortably for about 3 to 5 seconds and then relax. And then you're going to repeat this on the other side. On the next repetition, we're going to switch it up and now go in the opposite direction. So let's straighten that leg like this, but turn our foot outward as much as we can. This time around, I feel it more towards the inner part of the hip into the groin. And then we're just going to sweep that leg outward as much as we can. And then hold this 3 to 5 seconds. Relax. And then repeat it on the other side. Try to do this for about 5 complete times in both directions on both sides. But if it feels like you have a little bit more energy, try to throw in another set or 2. But go through all of these movements. If you do find that one just feels really, really weak, or it's just really helping with pain, like let's say when I turn my foot outward like this, on the left side, at that point, treat it like your weak link and throw more repetitions in until it feels like you got a really good workout. If the exercises help, please support the channel by giving this video a like and maybe subscribing too. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.